Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to see all of you here today. And welcome to our Arab Center Second Annual Palestine Conference. My name, as Yusuf said, is Khalil Jahshan. I'm Executive Director of the Center. And I would like to reiterate what Yusuf mentioned, his extended warm welcome to all of you here in person and the 300 plus other people who are joining us right now online, and express how pleased we are that you're able to engage with us and one another on such an important and timely topic regarding the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. I would like to take a moment to thank my capable colleagues and staff at ACW. Without exception, I will not venture into naming them all, for their hard work in putting together today's magnificent program. Please give him a hand. This morning's keynote speaker needs no introduction to an audience like this one, and I could see a lot of old-timers in terms of both Palestinian issues, Middle East issues, and particularly human rights issues. Dr. Agnès Callamard is Secretary General at Amnesty International and a prominent figure in the human rights world. As a feminist, an anti-racism activist, and a leading advocate for freedom of expression, from Los Angeles to Gaza, she has pushed the frontiers of rights through her scholarship and advocacy for decades. Callamard graduated from the Institut d'études politiques de Grenoble in 1985. Sorry, I didn't mean to charge you 20 more years. Completed a master's degree in international and African studies here at Howard University in 1988, and earned her PhD in political science from the New School for Social Research in New York City in 1995. She has held numerous positions of leadership, working in the areas of human rights, social justice, and accountability, including as founder and executive director of the Humanitarian Accountability Partnership Program, the humanitarian sector's first international self-regulatory body, and director of Columbia University's Global Freedom of Expression Initiative. Callamard was appointed by the United Nations Human Rights Council as Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial summary or arbitrary killings. In this role, she had hard-hitting investigations into the 2018 killing of the journalist and personal friend Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, the 2021 poisoning of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, the 2019 death in custody of former Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi, the 2020 assassination of Iran's General Qasem Soleimani, and Iran's related 2020 shooting down of Ukraine's International Airlines Flight 752 that claimed the lives of 176 passengers. Callamard first joined Amnesty International in 1998. After 20 years, Callamard returned to Amnesty International in 2021, becoming only the second woman to lead the organization since its founding in 1961. As Secretary General, she leads Amnesty's human rights work and serves as chief spokesperson, besides providing overall leadership of the International Secretariat. She also manages relations with the organization's national entities. Callamard oversaw the publication of a landmark report into Israel's apartheid against Palestinians and has led the organization's response to the ongoing conflict in Gaza and Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. She sets Amnesty's strategic direction and is leading efforts to enhance its effectiveness in responding to polycrisis and its preparedness against future threats to human rights. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Agnès Callamard. Agnès, the floor is yours. Please go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Khalil, and thank you to the Arab Center for this invitation. And my apologies for not being with you in person. I'm coming to you and delivering this speech with a great deal of humility. I have a lot of speakers, and I feel every one of them could have done probably as good, if not a better job than me. So please accept my speech for what it is. I'm coming to you, I'm speaking to you at the head of Amnesty International. I think Palestinian voices to speak about to them is absolutely crucial, and it is therefore with all humility that I am speaking to you right now. For more than, for many months, 20 months from what we heard for many years now, utter carnage has unfolded in front of our very eyes, and there is seemingly no end in sight. Palestinians in Gaza have been held in a nightmare. They have been bombed, starved, repeatedly displaced. Israel's action have wiped out entire multi-generational families. They have destroyed homes and livelihood. They wreaked a dreadful havoc on infrastructures and on ties to the land. They have leveled entire cities, pulverized civilian objects, agricultural areas, cultural and religious sites, schools, rendered great parts of Gaza completely uninhabitable. And of course, Israeli militaries have killed tens of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza, with the majority of those women and children. And we don't quite know how high the death toll will be. Many Palestinians, all of them in Gaza, have been treated as if subhuman, stripped of their dignity, denied life-saving humanitarian aid, a steady, unrelenting suffocation of survivors. And these crimes were and continue to be deliberate action, intentionally calculated to bring about the destruction of Palestinians in Gaza. And they have been perpetrated with total impunity. I have been asked to speak about the work that Amnesty has done to uncover the nature of the genocide, to demonstrate genocide, and I've also been asked to then talk about what do we do about it, what's our response to it. So I first gonna focus a little bit on the work that we have done, underscoring the fact that Amnesty's report on genocide, a very big report, product of many, many months of investigation, came quite late. And I want, I'm not gonna deny that we were late in arguing genocide. Many more had done so before, and we need to work that Palestinian, UN special rapporteurs, jurists have done throughout 2023 and 2024, arguing that Israel was committing genocide. So our own work is evidence-based and, in our view, unequivocal. It's a finding of investigation into Israel's conduct since the 7th of October. It is based on our analysis of a sustained pattern of conduct by the Israeli authorities. We studied many actions of Israel in Gaza. We studied the language that has accompanied these actions, and we concluded that it was that genocide was being perpetrated. It is clear that Israel committed at least 3 of the 5 acts prohibited under the Genocide Convention, and others have actually highlighted other prohibited acts. But we were focused on 3 killings, causing serious bodily or mental harm, and deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the physical destructions of Palestinians in Gaza. You probably know as well that existence of those acts alone is not sufficient to meet the threshold for proving genocide under the Genocide Convention. So we have further determined, also on the basis of evidence, that Israel committed those actions with a clear intent to destroy Palestinians in Gaza. We have shown that a genocidal intention occurring either in parallel to or as a means of achieving military goals, including defeating Hamas. And that's, I think, a very, I will come back to that, but it's a very important element. Until recently, I will say, I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that to many around the world that this is no longer, that it's not the case. Israel has convinced its allies and much of the world that it was engaged in a legitimate conduct, lawfully targeting Hamas. It is still seemingly convincing many in the United States that it is their intention. I hope, though, that even in the United States, there are more people finally, belatedly, painfully recognizing that Israel is, in fact, engaged in a war of destruction of the people, the Palestinian people. So, what did we show in our 300-page report? We showed that indeed Israel had, I'm not sure it does anymore, but it did have some military objective. We acknowledged those military objectives, but what we insisted upon is that those military objectives can coexist with genocidal intent. And the military objective of destruction of Hamas does not justify, excuse, or in any way make permissible the genocide of the Palestinians in Gaza. The assertion that Israel's war in Gaza aims solely to dismantle Hamas and not physically destroy Palestinians as a national and ethnic group simply does not stand up to scrutiny. And we have listed in our report many proof of the fact that the objective could not be that of destroying Hamas, at least in the action that we have investigated. We have shown direct attacks on civilian infrastructures where there was no Hamas presence and no military necessity. We have shown the use of heavy explosive weapons with a wide radius of destruction in densely populated area at times when their use would be assured to cause the highest rate of civilian casualties. We have shown the speedy, unprecedented scale and destruction of essential civilian infrastructures, cultural and religious sites. We have shown the repeated destruction of civilian infrastructures even after Israel had gained military control over them, and we can still, in fact, see that happening right now. We have shown that the repeated mass evacuation order have forced 90% of Gaza's population into areas that lacked the basic infrastructures. In fact, as of today, more than 70% of the Gaza Strip is under evacuation order or designated as a no-go zone. And of course, as is also painfully clear right now, we have shown that the ongoing siege could not serve, and absolutely could not serve any military objective, and completely blocked the entry of life-saving aid, including food, medicine, and fuel. Those unlawful acts are, by definition, intentional. And there is absolutely no doubt in our work, in our investigation, there is no doubt of the intentionality behind each and every one of the acts documented by our report. I want to highlight maybe the precise and deliberate control over humanitarian aid that is now being replaced by the militarization of humanitarian aid, delivered within military enclosures, monitored by facial recognition, guarded by military checkpoints. That is no longer humanitarian, and it's not aid. People are killed seeking to get aid. That is not humanitarian, and that is not aid. What is unfolding in Gaza is not the result of logistical or security challenges, as Israel may want to pretend, and it is not the result of recklessness either. It is an intentional, engineered collapse of humanitarian space. It is part and parcel of the subjugation of the population and the denial of dignity. That is a policy of deliberately imposing conditions of life to bring about the physical destruction of Palestinians. And it is still ongoing now, but it did not start 2 months ago. It started 20 months ago. And that is genocide. Israeli authorities are not only fully aware that this conduct would lead to the physical destruction of Palestinians in Gaza, but it also intends exactly that outcome. They actively seek to secure exactly that result. And this has become extremely clear over the last 2 months, but it was already clear a year ago, according to our work, and it was even clear even earlier than that. I would like to highlight also the fact that in our research, we not only looked at the conduct, the pattern of conduct, the justification for those conduct, i.e. military objective or military necessity, we also considered the language, the discourse, the speech that have accompanied these acts. And we analyzed at the time more than 100 statements by Israeli officials. We analyzed a large number of videos posted by Israeli soldiers. And what did we find? Nothing, everything that you already know about. The use of dehumanizing language to imply that Palestinians are subhuman and therefore undeserving of protection or basic necessities. We found statements calling for genocidal act or other crimes under international law. We found official statements quoted repeatedly to justify violation of international law, including by Israeli soldiers filming themselves as they are committing such crime. We have also verified videos of soldiers replicating official narratives calling for the erasure of Gaza or to make it uninhabitable. We have verified videos of soldiers celebrating the destruction of Palestinians' home, mosque, schools, and university. And this has been ongoing for the last 20 months. You know that probably far better than me. Just a few weeks ago, Israeli finance minister promised that within a few months, we will be able to declare that we have won. Gaza will be totally destroyed. There is no military objective there. There is only an objective of destruction of a people. When all of this is considered against the backdrop of dispossession and apartheid, against the backdrop of an unlawful military occupation that has taken place over decades, in the context of repeated inhuman blockades that Israel has subjected the people of Gaza to for years, only one reasonable conclusion could be drawn. Israeli authorities intended and intends to commit genocide in Gaza. And many others have before us, again, I want to repeat that, and after us, reached the same conclusion. They may have found different genocidal acts. They may have found different examples of genocidal acts. They may have relied on different speeches and different videos, but there is absolutely no doubt that there is an intention, a genocidal intention. And genocidal intention can be happening in an armed conflict. It can be happening alongside military objective. It's really important to highlight this because the ICJ, International Court of Justice threshold for proving genocide suggests that the genocidal intent must be the only reasonable inference to be drawn from the fact. What Amnesty is insisting upon is that the way to analyze and to understand reasonable inference in the context of an armed conflict must be to acknowledge that genocidal intent can take place alongside military objective. Otherwise, the ICJ threshold would imply that there can never be genocide in the context of an armed conflict. And that cannot be the analysis. Let me add that the genocide in Gaza is happening concurrently with a dramatic escalation in unlawful killings and displacement in the West Bank. The Israeli military has declared Jenin, Nur Sham, Tulkaram refugee camps closed military area. Forces are now stationed there. They've deployed tanks, carried out strikes, destroyed buildings, dug up roads, infrastructures, imposed extensive restrictions on movement. They've relentlessly destroyed hundreds of homes in this camp and adjacent neighborhood. According to residents of the camp that we have interviewed, the level of destruction is so massive that it will take months before they are inhabitable again. We have been told that an estimated 40,000 residents have been displaced. 700, at least, Palestinians in the West Bank have been killed since October. 7.5 of those killed, according to Save the Children, are children. And just days ago, Israel announced that it plans to establish 22 Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank, all in contravention of international law. So, what do we do? The world over, we know that a majority of government and people have demanded an end to the genocide and to the military occupation. We know that a large majority of governments at the UN General Assembly have voted to denounce Israel. We also know that around the world, for the last 20 months, people have protested. There has never been a more resilient movement of solidarity than what we have seen over the last 20 months for Palestinians. And yet, it seems that Israel authorities have become more emboldened, and Palestinians keep dying. Too many complicities, too many inaction, too many cowardice, too many companies benefiting from the occupation and the genocide. I will also say that decades of creeping destruction of universal values and international law through military aggression, through the war on terror, through racism erected as state ideology, and through greed, all of these are facilitating, permitting the fact that the genocide can continue in seemingly total or near total impunity. But the genocide may also signal a curtain call. It warns of a change of era, a destruction without plan B. The rule-based order that has governed international affairs seems to be on its way out, and there may be no turning back. The complicity or self-imposed paralysis of too many within the international community is stark and has fed the impunity that has accompanied Israel's behavior. The responsibility of the most powerful stand out. States such as, in the first place, the United States, but also Germany, the United Kingdom, showed not only indifference to the immense suffering of Palestinians, but were themselves supportive of it by continuing transfers of arms that enabled Israel's crimes and by suppressing dissent at home. Those who 80 years ago crafted the UN, blueprinted the International Court of Justice, today are vandalizing the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They vandalize the UN Charter. They vandalize the Genocide Convention. The rule of law is bending knee to power as power seeks to set itself above the law. And maybe because you are in the United States, it could be seen as something that is the product of the United States. But yes, of course, the United States has played a major role under the Biden administration and the Trump administration, who is accelerating these attacks on the rule of law. Regrettably, though, powerful leaders, be they head of state or corporate leaders, instead of resisting those encroachments, are leaping, in fact, on the opportunity to roll back human rights protection. And that has rendered, I will say, Israel's impunity much more easy. It has facilitated the impunity of Israel. It has been particularly disconcerting to see advocates for the human rights of Palestinians face violence, harassment, and arrest, not only in the United States, but also throughout Europe and Canada. German authorities, for instance, forcibly removed protesters from encampment. They attempted to deport people, to ban others from entering the country. And just a few days ago, Jewish Voice for Just Peace and BDS Berlin and BDS Bonn have officially been declared foreign extremist by the German Office of Constitutional Protection. Here in the there in the United States, one of our partner organizations, Adamir, was sanctioned by the US, I think yesterday, under the Foreign Terrorist Organization regulatory framework. I understand others have been sanctioned, but I don't have their names. So Amnesty International has called for the world, the people, civil society to resist. We have called on government to resist. We are insisting that now is not the time to imitate, capitulate, or negotiate. Now is not even the time to just pick up. It's not enough. Now is the time to act, and is the time to resist. And I would like to suggest that at least 3 battlegrounds for how we should respond. One is on international justice and justice. One is on, the second battleground is on business relationship, sanction. And then the third is at home. I'll call it home-based resistance. So with regard to justice and international justice, we already know about the International Criminal Court arrest warrant, but also about the sanction against the ICC prosecutor and now 4 judges. We know about the threats against the ICC more generally. These sanctions are an existential threat to the very ideals of international justice and the rule of law, but they are also a surefire sign that the court is doing its work. But I would suggest that international justice and justice have become battleground, including to stop the genocide. We and I am calling for governments and civil society to erect barricades, legal barricades, constitutional barricades, any kind of barricades in protection of the International Criminal Court and its staff and all those who support its work. We are calling for the implementation of universal jurisdiction principle and for the multiplication of cases. I would like here to mention the work done by the Palestinian Center for Human Rights and the UK-based Public Interest Law Center, who submitted last month a 240-page report into 10 Israeli-British dual nationals who are involved in genocide in different parts of Gaza. And they've handed over this report to the British prosecutor's office, asking them to take action. In Belgium, lawyers have filed complaints under universal jurisdiction against nationals accused of war crimes in Gaza and in the West Bank. The FIDH, one of our partners, is coordinating a number of possible litigation in relation to the Refim unit, which is responsible for war crimes and which includes French, German, Italian, South African dual nationals. So I think it's really crucial that in countries where there are lots of dual nationals, Israeli, European in particular, that have been members of the IDF, that we make it clear that if they have engaged in war crimes and the genocide, that they should not be allowed to walk freely the capitals of our countries, of any countries, as a matter of fact. We are recommending as well that countries undertake structural investigation into Israel as a prelude to criminal investigation. And a few days ago, I was told that Canada has just initiated such structural investigation into Israel. French anti-terror prosecutors have opened also a probe into complicity in genocide and incitement to genocide over French Israelis suspected of having blocked aid intended for Gaza. Of course, these are not a lot of cases, but they are the beginning of what I hope should become a real energized search for justice for Palestinians in Gaza. We need to keep hammering those recommendations. We, civil society, the media, experts, need to really deliver as much as we can into ensuring that justice is not forgotten. And with the search for justice, with building case file, with doing the research into war criminals, I think it's also really important that we spend time interpreting the rules, the legal rules, so that they are made to, they are fit for the purpose and for the context we live in. We need more legal expertise and interpretation of the ICJ position on genocidal intent. I cannot insist enough upon the fact that when the ICJ judges will come to rule over South Africa case, they must have lots of jurisprudence, or certainly lots of legal scholarship unpacking genocidal intent in the context of Gaza, so that they cannot move away, or they cannot shy away from providing a progressive interpretation of genocidal intent. We need to keep track, we need to keep list of those involved in the genocide and who are complicit in the genocide, and we must be clear that we are keeping those lists. We must be very loud about the fact that people must fear. They must fear their complicity in the genocide. They must fear their participation in the genocide. And right now, I don't think it is happening. And just to finish with one more recommendation. In a few weeks, Francesca Albanese, the special rapporteur, will release a report on the role of business, investment funds, banks, and others in supporting the military occupation, apartheid, and genocide. And we should try to turn the launch of this report into a major worldwide campaign, because the complicity of the economic sector into what's happening is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And unless and until we really unpack it and name it and target it, nothing is really going to change. And that includes, indeed, businesses in countries that so far seem to have been on the side of Palestinians, but have not taken really strong action to stop the complicity of their companies in the military occupation, or indeed in the genocide. We need to name and sanction individuals, be they government officials, military, police officials, business leaders, other members of the ruling elites. So far, those sanctions are in relation to the West Bank. And that is quite extraordinary. We have a genocide taking place in Gaza, but the governments, the few governments that have taken a few steps to sanction have done so in relation to the West Bank and the settlement. No one has been sanctioned in relation to the Gaza genocide, and that needs to change. And I think we have all a role to play. And while seeking justice for Gaza, we need to fight and protect our own communities, including in the United States, against the encroachment that I was speaking about. Because if we are prevented, if freedom of expression, if freedom of association, if the right to dissent, if the right to protest are prevented in our own gathering, in our own countries, it is going to make looking for justice in Gaza even more complicated. We need to have a transformative agenda alongside a resistance agenda. So lots of ideas. I know you will have plenty of time to discuss them. I just want to finish with the fact that resisting and seeking justice will be a long journey. There is no doubt it will be a long journey, but it just begins with one step, and I think it is a step of courage, and that's the minimum that we owe to the Palestinians of Gaza. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Callamard, for your comprehensive and very challenging keynote address. Appreciate your time today. I know you graciously accepted to take a couple of questions There is already more than a couple for you. I want to begin, while we're getting a couple more questions from the audience, ask you about one question from our online audience. Tariq Abu Saleh would like to ask you, how do you see the trajectory for Palestinian future in general, particularly in Gaza? How do you see that from your vantage point?
That's a difficult question. Look, first of all, I see it as a Palestinian-run, Palestinian-driven, Palestinian-decided, Palestinian-owned trajectory. So I think it's important to ensure that whatever is going to be decided, it be decided by the Palestinian people. If by trajectory you mean a political vision for Palestinians in Gaza, I mean, it's clear that it cannot begins by the end of military occupation, the end of apartheid. So that's the first entry point. The second is how we're going to deliver those objectives, and can that be delivered without further external presence and intervention? That is a question that I think you guys are going to debate a little bit later. So, trajectory, it has to be, it must be a political project owned by Palestinians. That's the only possible trajectory that I can see. And if we fail to do that, it will be a complete failure for Israel and Palestinians and the Middle East, but it will be a failure for the international community as a whole. Let's not repeat 1948, basically. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you very much. We have another question from Mark. Why is it taking so long for the ICC to make a final declaration on Israel's genocide? Why did it take so long?
You mean the ICJ? Because the ICC has not. The ICC has International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrant against the Prime Minister Netanyahu and his Minister of Defense then, but not on the basis of the crime of genocide, on the basis of crimes against humanity. The International Court of Justice is ruling over whether or not the state of Israel, as opposed to individuals, over whether the state of Israel is committing the crime of genocide. It has already ruled more than a year ago, 14 months ago, that the risk of genocide were very, very high. It is, the ICJ is slow, and it has other cases to deal with, including another case of genocide, which is that brought about by the Rohingyas against Myanmar. And I presume that case will be adjudicated before South Africa case. In addition to that, Israel is using every possible legal tool in the toolbox to slow down the International Court of Justice in terms of how and when it will be able to deliver its ruling. But that gives us time too. I want to insist again on the fact that it's really important that legal scholars and others contribute to the thinking over genocide. There is very little jurisprudence on genocide as by a state. We have some jurisprudence for criminal individual responsibility for genocide, but not so much for state responsibility. And that is what the ICJ is going to rule on. And it is important that we all contribute to building a legal understanding of state genocide responsibilities that the ICJ cannot move away from.
We have a question from Janine Shalabi at AAI here in Washington. You referred in your remarks to international responsibilities with regards to what we have seen committed in Gaza. What is the role of the broader MENA region? Could you comment on MENA actors in terms of their role to ensure safety and possibly statehood for the Palestinian people?
It's a good question. You know, with my colleagues, we had a meeting actually yesterday.
Share your reaction. Thank you.
On where do we go from there? And I said, look, we're not engaging enough with the Arab world and with the Arab state. And most of my colleagues are from the Middle East. Many of them are Palestinians, and they just feel, and they know, because we've tried apparently, that the Arab governments so far have not, you know, are saying, maybe saying the right thing, particularly because they know where the heart of their population is. But what have they really done? What have they really done? They have not sanctioned anyone. They have not stopped any business deals. You know, nothing seemingly to weaken Israel. Yes, they are taking a stand against political normalization, but that's not good enough. Again, words are not good enough. There are too many Palestinians that are dying while people are speaking. So I think, you know, yes, they should do far more than what they are doing, but making proposals without increasing the pressure on Israel itself, including economic pressure, financial pressure, political pressure, hell, why not military pressure, is not going to save anyone in Gaza, you know? I think that's a big problem. Everyone is looking towards June 16 as the moment where, you know, things are going to become meaningful. It's highly doubtful, highly doubtful.
Thank you very much. I have a question from Elijah Kallenberg at Dawn. A couple of points you did not elaborate on in your remarks, particularly the impetus now for, in terms of the genocide that you described, in terms of resettlement and particularly eventual annexation, you know, removing the population and eventual annexation of Gaza. What did you find about these two and how to counter those in terms of your research at Amnesty with regards to Gaza?
Look, we have focused much more on the genocide than we have focused on the annexation and the possibility of an annexation and the forced, well, basically the ethnic cleansing. That's what you are, the forced displacement and the forced resettlement. It has not been something that we have studied in depth. There is no doubt that it is happening. Others have found evidence of it. So yes, we need to also fight against what is clearly emerging as a political project of annexation, either in the West Bank or in Gaza. And right now, if I may, you know, we have seen many moments over the last 12 months of solidarity, large number of actors saying the right thing, but nothing really attached to a political vision for and by Palestinians. There is no political impetus for what should happen next, except for the, you know, oft-spoken reference to the two-state solution, which clearly Israel is very quickly and happily destroying by taking over the any kind of territories upon which a second state could be built, if indeed that was what Palestinians wanted. So there is no real political vision on the side of those who are claiming to want to end what's happening right now. There is nothing. It's very poor, and I think that's a very big problem, because on the other side they have a lot of ideas of what they want to do. Bad one.
Thank you. Dr. Callamard, you did mention in your remarks some governments in the West are beginning to feel the pressure, if you will, from the bottom, from the grassroots, with regards to their policies or the shortcomings of their policies. What do you make of the recent Canadian investigation into Canadian Israelis who might have committed war crimes in Gaza while serving there? Do you think that type of investigation is serving its purpose, and why is it being kept so quiet?
Well, I didn't know about it. I mentioned Canada as having conducting right now a structural investigation, meaning a higher level investigation of that would then allow them to go into criminal liability for individuals. We absolutely need to insist that those investigations must take place. For Amnesty International, it is a priority, certainly a priority in Europe with our European Amnesty section that are seeking and demanding investigation into those dual nationals or not, in fact, who are in the territory of the UK, United Kingdom, France, Germany, and so on, who may have been implicated in war crimes. There is more and more evidence coming up because these war criminals have acted with such degree of impunity, and that is what we need to really attack. People have no fear. They are killing Palestinians, including Palestinian children, and they are proud of it. There is no fear associated with the killings of Palestinians, and it is incumbent upon us, civil society organization, to create that fear. If it is not there, it is incumbent upon us to insist that those who have participated into war crimes will be investigated, that we will investigate them, that we will create those case files, that we will go to prosecutors. We need to do that. We, civil society, need to do that because governments are very shy, reluctant, unwilling, and I don't know how easy or possible it will be in the United States. But hey, there is a rule of law here too. So I presume, we just need to keep doing it. We need to make it clear to people that if they have been involved in a war crime against the Palestinians of Gaza, they should not be able to run away from that.
Thank you. Last question. I think it's a rhetorical question, but I'm not sure. I'll leave it up to you to respond to it. It's from Ahmed Mohammed saying, why do some people believe peace talks have failed so far? Has Israel not made any serious offers of peace with the Palestinians? I see some chuckles around the room here.
I'm not sure. No, they have not. In fact, they have not.
All right. With that, I think we'd like to thank you, Dr. Callamard, for your, again, excellent keynote presentation. Thank you all for being here. And I'd like to invite you now to stay put for the next event, next panel in this program, Documentation and Accountability, Genocide in Gaza, which will begin immediately. I would like to invite all the speakers in panel one to come to the stage, and for Dr. Youssef Munayyer to join him to moderate the session. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.